Explorer Anthology 1 has officially been data mined, and there's some spice in these packs. But are these cards that are dropping going to break the metagame as we know it? What are they going to do to your favorite deck? And does this mean we're just finally going to get Pioneer on Arena? Let's talk about it. The video starts right now. This channel brought to you by MinMax Games. Visit MinMaxGames.com for all your Magic Gathering needs. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Hometown TCG. You guys know me. My name is Josh, and we have Explorer Anthology 1 completely data mined as a community. I will put a link in this video's description. I was checking out MTGA Zone, I believe the MTG Arena Zone, the website, and they have an article about the data mine for Explorer Anthology 1, and it has theoretically all of the cards we will be getting in Explorer Anthology 1. So right away, I want to take a look at which of those cards is going to make an immediate impact in decks that are already in the meta right now. I then want to look at, kind of Explorer specific strategies. With the limited card pool, some of these cards really have a chance to shine, and I have two in mind that I want to talk about. And finally, there are some notable exclusions here. There's a lot of cards missing that people thought we might get. And I want to know from you guys, what would you want to get? And does this mean we're getting full-blown Pioneer in MTG Arena? I'm going to talk about that last, but let's talk about how this is going to affect our game as it exists right now. And I think the best place to start with that is in possibly the best deck in Explorer, red-black mid-range. And we have Kalidas, Trader of Get, coming to that strategy. Now, this strategy really likes to drag games out into this long game scenario. And right now, it's doing a couple things on turn 4. It either wants to drop Sorin or Chandra Planeswalkers. But often, there is a creature in that 4-drop slot. Whether, I've been trying out some hasty flyers, Rankle, Master of Pranks, and then Rekindling Phoenix. I've been trying both of those in this strategy, but this card really slots in nicely against certain decks and is a really nice piece to this board. So it's just a direct upgrade and buff to possibly the best deck in the format. So it's a little bit scary that, hey, we're starting off the bat right away, best deck in the format possibly gets an upgrade, but I don't think it's going to be game breaking. It's not going to be something that there's 4 copies of in the main board. It is an upgrade. It is something this deck wants to do. It's included in a lot of Pioneer strategies, but I think this card is going to be safe. It's not going to break our format or anything like that, but you will see it dropped in your Rakdos mid-range piles. Moving on to a strategy that's not as strong, but I really think there's a lot of room for improvement. I think this card does a lot of that work. I'm talking, of course, about mono green ramp and the addition of Elvish Mystic. Now, finally, I think this was a big anticipation for the Arena community. Elvish Mystic coming to Explorer is awesome, and this card allows our mono green ramp strategies to do unfair, ridiculous things on turn 2, things that you shouldn't be able to do until turn 3. It lets you do on turn 2. So the popular one being Old Growth Troll, and I believe even Yarvo has seen a little bit of play dropping in here. So there's a notable exclusion that Explorer is not getting that I do want to mention that probably would help this deck a little bit. I think y'all know what I'm talking about, and we'll get there in the future. But this card is just a direct upgrade. It's going to slot immediately into this deck. If you want to play this deck, you want to play ramp strategies, any kind of strategy, we're trying to get off to the races, Elvish Mystic is going to be an awesome addition for you. And as kind of a sidebar, there are some copies of Darksteel Citadel, which is something that is coming in Explorer Anthology 1 that are popping up in these ramp lists, in these ramp strategies in Pioneer. And I think it just ensures the fact that you can get this land down, and a lot of these land enchantments that the deck runs, you can do, and you can play, Darksteel Citadel and have that indestructible land. The problem is, I don't think that's as big of an upgrade. I don't think that's as big of a deal. I mean, yeah, Nissa turns it into an indestructible creature and whatnot, but I'm fine with it. It's okay. I think Elvish Mystic is the direct upgrade. Moving on, we got a couple creature strategies. Now let's take those creatures and wipe them off the board. We are bringing Supreme Verdict. That's right, Azorius Control is getting another board wipe in Explorer, and I'm pretty pumped for this one because it does bring like the age-old conversation. Is a guaranteed board wipe something, you're guaranteeing it better than doing it sooner, right? As far as board wipes go, you can really pretty much guarantee Supreme Verdict is going to land. You're going to wipe out your opponent's creatures, but it does happen a little bit later. I think it happens a turn later than some of the strategies you can right now. You can foretell a Doomscar, and on turn 3, you can drop the Doomscar on your opponent's dome, right? It's a pretty interesting thing to do on turn 3 against some strategies. So delaying that board wipe by a little bit, does it get a little more value, or does it just put you closer to the end? And it depends on what the metagame is going to look like. What this does is it gives a control deck options, and control decks with options generally like to be in those positions, right? These control strategies really love to have things to choose from to answer however the metagame shakes out. So I bet we are going to see a lot of Supreme Verdict being dropped on these creatures' heads. It's going to be an interesting card, and I'll be interested to see if it really takes over as the board wipe of choice. Now, finally, the last card that I think is going to make a direct impact in the metagame right now is the Mausoleum Wanderer. And it's funny because talking about Supreme Verdict, talk about the big thing, it's a little later, but it's guaranteed it can't be countered. And Mono Blue Spirits, a deck that might build a board and counter a board wipe to try to finish you off, is a strategy where that matters, and they get access to Mausoleum Wanderer. Now, Mono Blue Spirits always has felt to me a bit like a meta choice, right? It feels like a metagame decision to run this deck, and having decks like that in any ecosystem feels really good to me, and I like the fact that that deck's getting a little bit of a power up. Again, it's not like Rakdos midrange or the best deck in the format or anything like that is getting a bomb that's just going to put it far and above. I think Elvish Mystic is probably the most impactful card we're going to see here, but Mausoleum Wanderer being added to the format is really cool. Like, I like this card. I think it buffs that strategy. It's really neat, but there's some cards that don't really see a ton of play in Pioneer, and whether it's because Pioneer has access to a larger card pool and there's better options, or these strategies just aren't viable enough because of the Pioneer metagame, I think we're going to see these cards make a huge splash right here in Explorer. And the first card has definitely got to be Searing Blood. Searing Blood has an opportunity to bring mono red aggro or mono red burn or whatever strategy you want to run there, these mono red strategies, back into the front fold. I think the ability against something like a Rakdos midrange to kill a Blood Tithe Harvester and burn your face is just ridiculous. It's super cool. Now, it has the age-old problem. Creatures with 3 toughness just live, but it does allow us to, bolt the bird and stuff like that and still get some of this that damage across. And I think what's even more important is later in the game with larger mana buildup, it allows us to pump any prowess creatures. It allows us to kill something that could be in our way, and then it deals damage and turns on our spectacles. It turns on our light up the stage. It turns on our skewer the critics, so we can close this game out when we're at, kind of the later position in the game. So it gives us something cool to do on turn 2 into certain strategies, but I think it really shines later in the game when opponent is trying to assemble some kind of walls in front of us to stop us from getting there. It's also a better feeling when you have to 2-for-1 a creature and one of the cards you get to play is Searing Blood. So I think this card's going to make an immediate impact. I think this card in Explorer specifically could bring mono red back into favoritism. People could start running this card a lot more. It does have a bit of trade-off. Like right now, a lot of decks are running, what is that? Kumano, I think is the saga that comes in, deals 1 damage, buffs the next creature, and then flips itself into a 2/2. And that doesn't really make a ton of sense to drop on turn 1 if you're not slamming a creature on turn 2. So if this becomes a turn 2 spell that you're really trying to cast, maybe something that you board in against heavy creature strategies, it does really take Kumano and say, it's not really a viable 1-drop in this build anymore. So there's some trade-offs there. I think it's going to be interesting. I think we're excited for this card, but I know all of you out there, if you're old heads like me, and if you're not, sit down, let me teach you something, because the card I'm most excited for, you already freaking know what it is. We are going to play Siege Rhino again in Explorer. Now, Siege Rhino, definitely a card that has fallen out of favor in Pioneer, in Modern, and a bunch of other formats, just due to power creep, right? These decks are getting better, cards are getting more powerful, and Siege Rhino isn't quite what it used to be. Back in my day, you know what I mean? It's not quite what it used to be. But with Pioneer, or sorry, Explorer having a limited card pool, we're not going to see a lot of these amazing things you could be doing. And I think there's an opportunity for an Asban mid-range strategy that gets to play Siege Rhino. And frankly, I'm going to play with it. I'm going to lose rank. I'm going to lose a million games with this deck as I try to figure it out, but I will be casting Siege Rhino again and getting all of that sweet, sweet value. And if you are going to be casting Siege Rhino out there, let me know in the comments section below. And the other thing I want to hear from you guys is about notable exclusions. Now, we know that some of these cards that we thought we were going to get are not around. Mainly what Monetary Swift Spear, there's your delve spells, right? So it's Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time are not involved, as well as Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. I think that would buff the mono green strategy. It's a really relevant card in Pioneer, but an exclusion that nobody's talking about that I wanted to see is Deathrite Shaman. I think there's an Explorer Rogues list that gets to play Fabled Passage and make use of Deathrite Shaman, flash interaction, maybe some delve spells if we get them in the future. I think there's a cool list that can do these things. So these are some of the cards I want to see added to Explorer next. Let me know what you want to see added to Explorer in the comment section below. And I think we are getting full-fledged Pioneer in Arena. I really don't think there's a way that we can get around it. I think we're getting full-fledged Pioneer on Arena. I'm super excited. I hope you guys are too. Until next time, you guys know me. My name is Josh. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching the video, and we will see you around. Goodbye.